Hi, welcome to the Monday Manager Show. In today's interview, I talk with Anesha Nath, a young entrepreneur who started a Vedic astrology business to help people find their life's purpose. She's running this business with her former boss. So, this interview delves into quite a few interesting questions. First, how did she manage the relationship dynamic between her boss, her former boss, and now co founder? How do they make decisions in a small team? How does she actually gain the trust of people when she presents them with this idea of a Vedic astrology business? How does she recruit a remote team? And more importantly, how does she filter for the right fit? And we talk about how, as a young entrepreneur, how do you get taken seriously by people and the challenges that come with people's perception of your age and what you're doing. So I hope you'll enjoy this conversation. Hi, Anisha. Welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here.
Hi, Raghav. Thank you so much for calling, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Yes. And when I was going through your story and even reflecting on the last conversation that we had, what I feel the good point to start with would be your current journey as an entrepreneur, and that too as a very young entrepreneur who's started on this path. So, what has been the most challenging aspect of running a business as a young entrepreneur?
Right. Um, I think that is actually a very good point to start at. Um, Generally, when we think about entrepreneurship, we see it from an external lens of, the first, whenever you are starting out, you think that, okay, I'll make so much money in such a short amount of time, and or that I have this very bold vision that no one else before me has thought of. But when you actually start out, you start noticing that it is more of an internal journey as compared to being an external journey. So internally, you grow as an entrepreneur every single day, and a reflection of that comes in your external results. How much feedback you are getting from the customers, what kind of market value do you have, and how much resonance you are able to build. So when, like, I credit a lot of my entrepreneurial journey, I think, to the early days of YouTube. So I used to consume a lot of these content of, that time. Oyo was quite popular,
Mm-hmm.
and he, like, the founder, he is also from Odessa, which is like my hometown.
Right.
So although I grew up in Delhi, but I resonated with his story quite a lot. So when I was young, I did see a lot of young entrepreneurs being able to build something of our own, even while coming from humble backgrounds. Um, and the second thing that I'd say motivated me to, like, start my own venture, um, was that I didn't knew where else will I fit,
Okay.
because I came on from an, like, pure artistic background, and whenever you see your work as like a devotion, a spiritual practice, or an art form, you are not able to detach yourself a lot from what you are doing.
Right.
So, doing a job, or maybe not just a job, or any role where I'll be restricted to a particular role and not see an overall impact of what I'm doing, that will not be very fulfilling to my own self. So
Right.
those were the two things. When I talk about challenges, that is, one thing is that I am a first generation entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
in my family. So though the family is very supportive, they are all on board with my journey, and give me all kind of, like, mental, emotional, financial, whatever support is required. um, when we started out, that was also the first time me living alone in Delhi. My parents, they had some work commitments, so both of them moved to a different country, and me and my brother were living alone. So that was those 3 to 4 months were quite challenging because we were setting up the company, the registrations and everything. That is also quite a
Yes.
complex process. Then you have the entire home to manage, and then you are starting a venture. So like everything was quite new. So uh, it took a bit of time for me to adjust. I used to be very anxious during that time. So that I'd say was the toughest part. Like you do not account for how your life also will change. You
Yeah.
just think about the work when you are starting out.
Right. And was there any point where, or rather, what was the point where those rose tinted glasses came off?
I think it comes off like every single day
Okay.
of your entrepreneurial journey, and I think I'm still shedding some of those skins. Although I'd say that before I started my own venture, I used to. So my current co-founder is also my first boss.
Right.
So I used to work with her for the last 3 years, and I saw the entrepreneurial journey very close hand. Um, so like my expectations in terms of entrepreneurship was already quite adjusted.
Okay.
So it was I wasn't expecting like a overnight success or things to always fall into place. I had seen some like challenges in the development process, challenges related to human interaction. We used to work a lot with expats, so people across different cultures, how they communicate, how they see work, everything. So that was definitely quite adjusted. But one thing that was additional here was definitely the financial responsibility,
Right.
as well as like having the final word on a lot of things. So
Yeah.
you cannot fall back on any other person.
Yes.
So those two things were quite new. And then obviously living alone and the entire adulthood journey also began at the same time.
True.
So uh, difficult to manage, like in that sense.
Yeah. And usually, at least from what I've seen, is they're working as an employee or working and running your own business. Like it's such a big contrast, right? Did you face any challenges with that transition?
um, all right, so as I mentioned before, so even when I am an employee, in my approach to work, so if we keep aside the financial angle of things, so you do not need to worry about um, salaries,
Right.
compliances, like how many like targets you are meeting. Like targets meeting obviously is part of your job, but what target to set is
Yeah,
not part of your job.
exactly.
So if we keep those things, like the financial aspect of things, separate,
Mhm.
um, I think I was very attached to the concept and the vision we were working towards.
Okay.
So in that sense, I took like full ownership of the product, and I always went beyond my role to to make sure that we are able to pull through whatever
Yeah.
we are working towards. So sometimes it may look like that, okay, I'm assigned to do this thing, but and some other person has to take care of a particular thing, and that is not happening on the timeline, or the quality is not great. I'll mostly take the ownership to study that field myself
Hmm.
and do some part of the job just to help that person pull through, because at the end of the day it is our project and we need to see it through. So I always had that kind of an attitude, and that is why I think my fit is only in the startup world. Sometimes when I talk to my friends who are at different parts of their journey, some are working, some are doing their MBA, there I often see that even when you take initiative, that also sometimes is taken in a negative manner.
Yes.
Um, so that you are going beyond, and probably you're trying to prove something to someone else. So that kind of environment will not be a great fit for me.
Right. And when you talk of your friends, have you ever felt any regrets when comparing where you are with your friends?
Right. Um, If I think about it from an overall angle, um, I think my priorities were quite clear that I want to dedicate this part of my life to building something of my own.
Right.
But having said that, when there are challenging days, you always I always have this, doubt somewhere in the corner of my head that am I missing out on the experiences people should have in their 20s, or maybe have I bogged down myself with too many responsibilities? But that is where I think the work that we also do comes in. That, um, like at Cosmofind, we use Vedic astrology to help
Right.
people figure out their highest purpose in life. And now with all of these insights, I know that my higher purpose is to contribute in this manner to the society. And
Right.
obviously this will also give me the satisfaction that whatever I am comparing myself to right now will not give me. Even if I achieve that, even if I take that experience, after that I might feel the same level of hollowness, and then I might compare at that point myself to some other experience that someone else
Yeah.
is having. So that is like a continuous loop. But yes, you do miss out on few things that others in your age group are doing.
Right. And you make a good point about how you're found something that you feel is your purpose, right? And a lot of people, if you ask them, they are in the 30s, 40s, still searching for their purpose, what should I be doing and things like that. So how how did you actually arrive at this stage? Because that's not
Right.
an easy thing to arrive at. So was it just um, a matter of chance, or was it certain things that have been that are, how do I put it? Or is it certain things about how you have grown up that have got you here with this sense of clarity around your purpose? What is it?
That's a very interesting question, and that is also the question that we are trying to answer for a lot of people apart from my own self. Um, so if I take Cosmofind and the solution that we are providing out of the equation, um, and I try and connect the dots of whatever experiences I have had in the past and where I stand right now, everything connects to this point. So there hasn't been one single experiences which I can say that this is not useful for me at all. So like in my early life, as I said, and that is why I feel that um, the thought process and my approach to work is quite different from what the present generation is used to.
Mm-hmm.
One is obviously I studied and immersed myself a lot in the traditional way of learning. So it was not very conventional classroom education. I like since the age of 9 or 10, I was performing on stages, learning from a lot of gurus, all of that. So uh, at that point of time, I didn't have the consciousness that this would impact me in such a deep manner. And but but during those that entire decade, I was able to pick up a lot of these approaches that I now apply to work. So things from Natya Shastra, all of these Vedic scriptures that we have, and the stories like all the Itihas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, everything, that also sort of have an impact on how you think and look at life.
Right.
um, the second thing is, like after that entire decade of performing, being in the limelight, um, I also got very comfortable with that life. So
Okay.
now when someone like criticizes me in public, or doesn't like the work that I'm doing, or is jealous, wants to pull me down, all of that, I'm adjusted to all
Mm.
those emotions. So if it were for me to do it first time, like for a lot of people, just being in the public eye is
Very
does
difficult.
take an does take a toll on their mental health. So this one thing I was adjusted to, plus the exposure to ancient cultures. Third was my reading and everything on entrepreneurships. I worked with some startups in my college also as an intern. So the first startup idea I had was something around waste management. I got the opportunity to work with one startup around that. So a lot of exposure around startups. And then in my own study from class 11, 12 to the in entire college life was around these ancient practices. So yoga, Ayurveda,
Hmm.
Itihas, Ramayana, Mahabharat, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, all of that. So I attended a lot of discourses. And that was just out of curiosity. I never knew that I'll make something out of it. But I kept on studying all of these things along with my formal education in management. So all of that, if I now look back, and obviously my first job experience where I met my co-founder and we used to work with expats. So that also gave me a global sort of a mindset
Right.
when looking at solutions. So everything now comes to what conflict is, like why it is the way it is. So for everyone else, maybe when we talk to people about astrology, uh, there are in India there are two mindsets. Either people say it is a bullshit sort of a science, and or people blindly believe it, that they
Right.
base every decision based on what somebody says.
Hmm.
And if you talk to an entrepreneur community, they'll probably say that you'll make a lot of money out of this,
Yes.
right? So but none of, like, for us, none of that holds any importance. Like um, and that is why we didn't build for a conventional like VC sort of model. We are bootstrapping because we want to put out a value proposition and reframe astrology in a manner that the world hasn't seen of yet.
Right.
So all of that like connects, and obviously Cosmofind came out of, like, it was first intuition based and then market research. So I was like drawn to the solution and the concept, I'd say. And the evolution also, I think, for both me and my co-founder Henna, we didn't think like this is exactly what we want to do.
Hmm.
It is just, it came to us intuitively,
Okay.
and then we followed it with market research. uh,
Understood. That actually have very well led on to my next question, which was I'm curious about Cosmo Find itself. And like, what is the
right.
challenge of running a business around Vedic astrology? Like you said, some people think of it as a joke, some people think of it like completely buy into it. But how do you go about navigating this kind of an environment? Because it's quite difficult.
Yeah. So the concept in itself is like Vedic astrology or astrology in general. Um, I think it is part of the popular culture. So it is also part of a lot of beings. And then it is also followed deeply by people who want to base their decisions based on astrology. Our job here is also quite tough, that we want to reframe it as a personal development tool and not base our entire life based on that, but use it to enhance our own life and the fulfillment that we get out of our experiences.
Right.
But before astrology, I'll like to dial down and say that all these ancient wisdom from India, I think, um, like Bharat or India as a civilization has focused a lot on personalization.
Yes.
Any other science or anything haven't been able to do yet. For us, when we speak about personalization from a marketing or from a product perspective, a lot of D2C brands are writing your name on bottles, or maybe you are getting an email
Yeah.
with your name, right? That is the extent of personalization that is happening in the current day and age. Um, but if we talk about ancient Indian wisdom, if we take Ayurveda, if we take astrology, even yoga, everything is personalized to your experience.
Yeah.
And that is why if we say that we want to attain knowledge, or if we want to um, get into the spiritual practice, there are a lot of like hundreds of paths available for every single person. So we
Right.
cannot say knowledge is the only path
Yes.
to like spiritual liberation. There
Yeah.
can be like bhakti path, a lot of
Yeah.
other paths also.
And it has all
So I
been
think,
about, sorry to interrupt, it has all been
yeah,
about going within and studying the individual deeply, right? Whereas when
exactly,
you compare to other approaches in other, say, Western countries, it has been about, okay, what works for the masses.
exactly.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So yeah. So I think so when we stumbled upon astrology, before that we were studying quantum physics and a lot of other like concepts that are making rounds in the West of seeing life in a different light. I don't have that book right now, but it is written by Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is, I think, breaking free from your own self,
Right.
so, something around that, which is around quantum physics only. And through that, we stumbled upon Vedic astrology, where we found out that it is actually the science of light. And even in India, when we talk about astrology, it is about predicting what specific event will happen.
Yeah.
But if we are talking about light, light can have a lot of manifestations. Like light is basically energy. So if someone says that you'll find love, that doesn't mean that you'll definitely find a partner. You can experience love in a lot of different formats. So with that context in mind, and we studied a lot, did some market research, and found out that people are looking for solutions where they want to understand themselves better. So questions like, who am I, what is my purpose? People don't know a lot of their hidden strengths that are probably programmed somewhere in their subconscious mind, but because of their daily life jobs, they never get a opportunity or the scope to exercise those skills or whatever creativity that they have, right? So a lot of these questions kept popping up, which Vedic astrology can answer a lot well than any other solution that is available in the market. So what happens when you go to therapy also? The therapist asks a bunch of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and you go down in your mind to answer that, and every question leads you to a deeper layer of your own personality.
Right.
And you then realize that a lot of these layers are from external environment, whatever content you are consuming, friends you are
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with, your family, your culture, all of that. So to get to your core is an entire journey in itself, and sometimes that takes a lifetime for most people.
Mm.
In your 40s or 50s, you realize that, okay, I have check marked all the things that a perfect human being is supposed to do. Still I am not satisfied, right?
Yeah.
So Vedic astrology can strip down all of these external noise that you have, and help you reach to the core really faster than in any other model that is out there.
Right.
So we wanted to focus on this thing. We actually developed an app before this where people can just like put their questions that are already there in the market. That obviously gives like is sounds very technologically savvy and everything, right? And we wanted to put it out into the market because we want people to ask the right questions first, and there is a real demand for such a product. It is just that we need to cut through the noise and present Vedic astrology in a manner that it can help people.
Right. And do you find it a challenge to get people to buy into what you're proposing?
Uh, yes. So, two or three scenarios I'd say are I think continuous in our experiences. One is that people who are already warmed up to not just astrology, but I think they are maybe going to some retreats where they are able to get within themselves and find some answers, or they're already exploring some or other kind of practice and finding their purpose or getting closer to themselves or to break free from all the noise that is surrounding them is
Right.
a primary need. Then introducing Vedic astrology isn't that difficult,
Mm.
um, because they are already searching for something like this, and Vedic astrology um, helps them get to this stage much faster than any other solution can get them.
Okay.
So that helps. But if if someone is not at that stage in life, right, and even like within my own family, if I start preaching that, okay, whatever you are doing right now, you are heavily influenced, and you should try and find what your natural design is and do things in then we might not find the same level of resonance because in their head they're not at that stage.
Right.
So it matters a lot on the stage that the person is. And obviously if someone is entirely against such practices, then I don't think it is our job to like convince every single person to believe in the solution.
Right. Understood. So, does that also mean that the kind of people who you are working with tend to be in their late 30s and 40s and beyond? Or have you also
Yes,
had
so
people in their 20s who are also buying into or looking for things like what you're offering?
correct. I'd say that people in their 30s and above are more open to such solutions. One is that they have already seen a bit of life, so they understand that even if you put your best effort or best logic forward, sometimes things do not work out as planned. Or if even if they have worked out as planned, you are not deriving the same level of satisfaction you thought you would when you started out. So that makes them more open to such concepts. Not just astrology, but they slowly start getting into meditation or like other wellness and spiritual practices or personal development practices. You'll see a lot of people in their 30s trying to actively look for hobbies where they can like spend some time and have a place or a space beyond their office and their home where
Right.
they can be just with themselves. So that makes them more open to it. People my age group, when I talk to them, I know that this is something that can really help them with their present day challenges. But they because they're just starting out, I think they do not have the insight as to
Right.
how like life evolves in
Right.
the next few years. So they have like they want to have more control, and with the framing of astrology, um, the term in itself sounds like you are talking about which is written in fate.
Right.
Um, so that sort of creates a dissonance. But whenever I talk to people like in a from a like non-sales angle, I generally do not uh, try and pitch to younger people. They get like really curious, and most of them have this, oh really, this is something that can help us too. But our focus hasn't been there because the convincing time takes is a bit longer.
Right. Understood. And how is the dynamic between you and your co-founder? How do you guys manage work? How do you divide responsibilities? Do you ever get into
Right,
fights?
right. Um, so that is actually a very interesting question, and this is also a topic that I am quite passionate about, uh, both from a co-founder angle and the relationship between Gen Z and millennial angle. I think there has been a lot of conversation recently around that also.
Yeah.
And I wrote a detailed article on LinkedIn, I think a few months back on this. When I research, I generally find that there has been a lot of content written content for millennials on managing Gen Z
Yes.
workforce, but there is rarely any content on Gen Z managing, like, developing a good working relationship with their
Mhm.
millennial bosses, colleagues, and that is where I find that there is a gap. I was able to adjust to this dynamic more smoothly because I had this past experience where I which made me very open to feedback.
Mm.
So in like classical dance, you do get like very strict training, right? So and it is mostly, suppose, um, and I also find that that also gave me some anxiety, and I had to unlearn a lot of
Yeah.
behaviors, because suppose you are on a stage, and if you didn't perform that well,
Yeah.
then that, like, your 3 to 4 months of preparation is now in vain, right?
Yes.
And you do get like scolded for that in
Yeah,
the
I agree.
preparation phase also, very like strict feedback, all of that. You are always in the public eye, so that is obviously there, uh, but that also helped me appreciate people who are taking the time to give feedback. So
Hmm.
this is something I think which is missing um, from the Gen Z side of the equation,
Right.
is that if someone is taking out the time investing in your learning, that is um, that is a privilege in itself.
Okay.
I think this message needs to go out, that there can be a lot of bosses who will just shout at you and
Yeah.
not give you any constructive feedback. So that is much worse. Or if someone doesn't care about your work at all, they might not give you feedback, and they can simply take your work, do the edits, and then pass it
Take the
forward.
credit.
So you are, and yeah, and you are not learning anything.
Yeah.
So uh, so that is one thing, that if um, someone is giving you feedback, you should really appreciate that, and you should feel grateful. Second is, because maybe we do have a lot of opportunities. So if you're not working, you can maybe start your own channel or something. So the appreciation and value of being in a workplace environment has reduced, maybe, and that is why people are not taking their time to figure out how the culture and the workplace work.
Hmm.
You might have like some issues with one particular person, but I think we are not taking the time to understand why that person is also behaving in the way that they are. Maybe the
Right.
organization priorities are in a direction that is making them optimize on some things and neglect a few others.
Yeah.
So and if that is the case, then maybe we should also see what is the overall organization priority, and where maybe we are not the right fit for the organization, and maybe that boss is not our problem, the organization overall is the problem.
Right.
So that those were a few things. But for me and Hannah, I think when I joined, she invested a lot in me for the first like 6 to 8 months. um, Even like small things, like I said once that I want to learn more about consumer behavior, and she contacted some of her friends and asked them to share notes with me or something. So that those small things really made a difference for me.
Yeah.
um, Second, I am always, I think I am a that time I was great at execution, but at the same time I'll also question a lot of things. um, so whenever people are, this is again another point for people who are joining organizations for the first time,
Hmm.
that as long as you are delivering good quality work, your bosses will be open to your suggestions, and they might like that you are challenging their thinking when your whatever suggestion you are giving is in an alignment with the overall organization perspective, and not just to prove that you know better. So that sort of, she also gave me the space to challenge a lot of things that were happening. And at the same time, I used to do my research well before I spoke anything. So slowly our equation sort of developed in that manner, that even though like she was a boss, when we were working on something, she gave me that equal space and respect to put forward my views and my work. Now, from that to now, when we are co-founders, definitely the equation changed a bit. That time I was still learning, and uh, so by the time we had completed 2 years of working together, I think some areas I was asked to completely take over, manage on my own. So there, she in the job itself, she was taking, like, my word was over anyone else's word.
Right.
If that is because I have done all the research
Mm-hmm.
around that
Mm-hmm.
particular topic,
Mm-hmm.
went very deep into it. Now, when we transitioned to um, co-founder relationship, um, one thing that I guess is not very spoken about is when you have like different responsibilities. So right now she is looking more at the product and the processes side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I am looking more at the marketing. Like, all external work is mine, all internal
Right.
system led work is hers.
Okay.
So you get a very little time to work on something together, right? So you are mostly part of like different context within the same organization.
Right.
And slowly these two areas grow in their own complexities.
Mm-hmm.
um, and you might not have like a lot of context of what is happening in each area. And you do your check-ins and everything, but the equation that you have when working in the same team and then managing two separate complete departments is quite different. So
Right.
there the equation changes. So it is like marriage, right? So when you say the dating period is good, but when you get married, then you are basically taking care of different departments. So you have to plan like time together. You have to plan some days, some hours together, where you can like understand your individual evolution as well. So
Right.
I think that is one thing that has been important.
And
Plus,
how?
obviously, yeah,
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So one other thing I'd say that in our case, the age difference, because of the kind of roles that we have taken up in the organization,
Mm-hmm.
that helps. Because Henna also had a lot of corporate experience before she started her own startup. Um, so that helps in process like optimizations. How do we set our process in such a manner that whenever we reach scale, the systems are not breaking. Um, so
Right.
in all those cases, the maturity and the experience she comes with helps
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And in my side, since we are reframing Vedic astrology in a completely new light, so that will require some bold communication style, uh,
And
which
was it? Sorry to
which
interrupt.
again comes with the,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Was it easy for you to go from? So earlier she was your boss, right? And
Yeah,
and now you both are co-founders, right? So was it easy to transition into this relationship? Because as co-founders, you are more or less equals, right?
yeah,
So how did you transition? How do you guys make decisions on company
right,
matters? How does that dynamic play out?
right. So again, I'd say that we have demarcated the responsibilities pretty well in that case. That anything that I am handling, I have the final word on that. Anything that comes under process, tech, and anyways, any of us wouldn't have the same amount of context as the other person. So
Right.
whoever has the highest context gets to make the final call. um,
Okay.
Again, Henna was very conscious of giving me that space, of like being my honest self in whatever direction I am.
Mm-hmm.
But but initially, for the 2-3 months, I think I took more time to adjust to take that space.
Right.
uh, because I was used to, okay, even if I know that she trusts me, I'll just send her something and ask for approval,
Right.
because that is that is how I was wired. But now I think we have reached a comfortable space
Mm-hmm.
um, where we are able to manage who gets the final call on what, and
Okay.
it mostly isn't a problem because we trust each other in our own domains.
Right.
um,
But what
but
about,
like from an overall, yeah.
yeah, sorry, sorry. But what about certain shared things, like where should the company head next, right? What should be our focus area as a business in the next few months? Like those are shared decisions, right? So how do you guys make those decisions?
Right. um, okay, so mostly whenever we have like a conflicting view on like how where the direction of the company should go, um, we have this dedicated strategy discussions separately, and we put down like whatever pointers we have in detail.
Mm-hmm.
Then we come on a combined call and strike off like whatever. So in my list of 10 things also, there might be two which are like on highest priority for me, that okay, this is something, like trust me on this will work out, right? And rest other eight might not be um, the we I might say that we can try it after like 3 months. Let's focus on this first, and then we can pick up the other things. And similarly, her list will also have those things.
Right.
And so we try and see wherever, um, whichever has the best like market insight, market timing. So which are the things, if we do not do right now, 3 months down the line, 4 months down the line, we might have lost the timing by then.
Mm-hmm.
um, so one is obviously market dynamics. Second, out of the two lists, uh, which are the pointers that are complementing each other. So
Right.
if we say that, suppose if we stop this development for the next 3 months and focus on these marketing activities,
Mm-hmm.
and the tech side of things, we can then plan it in such a manner that tech is in alignment with the marketing,
Right.
that tech is taking care of, suppose, um, marketing related small lead magnets or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So there we are able to find some synergy uh, in that
Okay.
case. And wherever things are like really off, really that we are completely in different directions, one thing, even if we do not bring it up immediately, one thing that works with both of us is that we have developed such a relationship in the past many years, is that we are very direct with each other.
Okay.
So, and like this is, it sometimes comes out of a compulsion that we are not able to shut our mouths till the time the thing is cleared out. So,
That's actually a good thing
uh,
instead of just burying it
yeah,
and leaving it away.
yeah. So we are like very straightforward in our communication, and that also came from me being like a younger person. Uh, Generally, in corporates, you are trained to communicate in an indirect manner. So
Mm.
Henna had that style for the longest time. But since we started working together, and I was very direct in my communication, or even criticism of some things, that also gave her the comfort that okay, she can also do the same.
Mm.
um, so now we have that sort of a culture in the
And
organization.
has there ever been any issue where you have really wanted that, we should do this, but then you guys ultimately
Hmm.
decided to do something else? How did you feel when that kind of a decision happened?
I think in Cosmowind, at least till now, there hasn't been anything that like I really wanted and I didn't. We didn't go ahead with that. Um, yeah, in Cosmofind, at least
Okay, understood.
uh, didn't have that case.
That's
In
good.
obviously previous jobs, uh, we had such scenarios, but it was not my place
Sure,
to uh,
understood.
take those decisions.
And at Cosmofine, do you also have yeah, other team members, etc., that you're managing right now?
Yeah, so we have like one full-time tech person and one full-time marketing person.
Right.
So
And
like full-time we are four, and then there are external collaborators for design, other like
is it
smaller
the
aspects
first
of the
time
stuff.
that you're managing a team?
I did had some like junior team members there, but the final responsibility was not on me.
Right.
So like I was managing them, but if some issue came up,
Yeah, you could
then
ask your boss.
uh, I could just ask my boss. So that
So
was
how do you deal with it
there.
now,
Uh,
where it is you who must make those calls?
make those calls, right? So even for setting up the marketing team was a challenge. I'm still figuring it out. I'd say we are still not there in terms of um, how I want the marketing team to look like. Um, and since we interviewed a lot of younger people, uh, one thing that definitely happens is that um, they are they are working directly with me,
Hmm.
and sometimes I make it very clear that all of these things like that you need to be good at taking feedback and do not take anything personally, all of that. I invest a lot of time in like training also, setting up a personal equation and everything. But I think overall what happens is, since we do not have a HR person or someone where they can maybe go out and vent or maybe share some suggestions,
Right.
uh, we are the people making the financial decision, and who also are working with them on a day-to-day level.
Yeah.
So there's no sort of gap, and that becomes difficult because you are also like a colleague, and you are also the final decision maker.
Right.
So
So they have to tiptoe around you, right? What if I say something and Anish gets upset and then I'm out of a job?
I don't think so, because uh, the
Like
present generation
in their
again
minds,
doesn't,
that might be there, right?
might be there, but uh, in my observation, I think the present generation is a lot less scared.
Mm.
Like
Okay.
because for them it is, the job is not the final thing.
Right.
Even if this job goes tomorrow, they have 10 other things that they can do.
Yeah.
So for even one thing that we prioritize a lot on is the alignment with the vision of the company.
Mm.
So every like whenever we hire someone, we put them through a lot of different work just to see which is the right fit for them. Like
Mm.
because our roles are also quite evolving right now. So I cannot say that okay, I need like a paid ads person and this person will only do paid ads. The strategy might change 3 months down the line. So
Yeah.
we need that sort of a flexibility in that person also, and we can also have a strategy based on whatever skill set that person brings to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are not able to find out what is their like hidden quality that they are bringing, then our strategy again will be very misdirected. We might be
Right.
putting someone in something that they are not exceptionally great at. um, so
Hmm.
that is obviously one thing, but I would like to focus more on overall culture uh, than I am doing right now.
Okay.
um,
Understood.
because when you are just building out, you might be like you are always pressed against something or the other, and that sort of, and I in my like analysis also, using Vedic astrology of my leadership style and everything, for me culture really matters, that people should look forward to working somewhere. Otherwise it doesn't add on to their experience.
Understood. And as you're a young company, the first few hires or the people who come in, they can really make or break things, right? So
Right.
how do you find the right fit when you're hiring? Like that
uh,
is a question which even big companies have not cracked. So how do you go about it?
yeah, so I think again we are still figuring that thing out from a tech perspective. we had a very good person from our previous um projects only, so that thing was sorted, and they have a very good working relationship with us. um, so we have a like trusted, one leg of the company is on a trusted person, so
Mm-hmm.
in that case we got lucky. um, from a marketing perspective, there were like a lot of experiments. So in the short amount of time that we have been functional, I've spoken to a lot of people, interviewed many, some of them joined also. um, but I think it is very difficult to understand what a person is looking at when they're coming to work, from just like, even if you take 2 or 3 rounds of interviews, it is very difficult
Yeah.
to really understand the correct alignment. um, Second, even if you like work for a month, like 2 to 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
where you are testing how the working equation works, um, you will find that especially people who are just getting out of college, they do not know how a
Yes.
real working environment works.
Yeah.
So that again, like even like small things that you should just give a heads up whenever
You have to
you
coach
are
a lot.
yeah. So that, like, what are the parameters of communicating and just being, so you have to pull pull up a lot in those initial months. And that I think I took some time to adjust to that, to be honest, because you have an expectation that okay, these are the most basic things
Yeah.
one should know of. um, but I don't know, I'm just like, I have passed out of college 4 years back. It hasn't been so long, but I still find a sense of gap, and I do not blame the people who are joining, because I think the internet has portrayed the professional environment in such a way that it is all about just perks, fancy office, what is the welcome kit that you are getting.
Yes.
Uh, and I also have a brother who is 4 years younger to me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I speak to him, I get the perspective that okay, everyone in this generation is like have that perspective. So I find that there is a knowledge gap, and people really do not know that is the case.
Yeah. That's that's an important point. We have faced this recently as well. In fact, we were
Hmm. Hmm.
going to let go of someone who's a Gen Z fresh, and
Hmm.
then I had to fight to say no, no, no. They just don't know those things. We have to coach them a little bit, and so then we kept that person on. Um, that is a challenge with the way our even our education system is designed, right? It doesn't prepare people to go into the workplace that well, right? You might, for example, give people a lot of technical knowledge, but how do you actually go about doing work? How do you communicate? All of these things are like missing pieces, and that's why I have recently seen that many companies, even for fresher roles, now they require 2 3 years of experience because they are probably
Right.
unlike you. They don't want to invest that time in coaching uh, people, and because that takes a lot of effort.
That does take, and like you said, we are a young company, so we, that is also a like tight rope we are riding, that obviously we also cannot invest extra time. So
And
I think, me personally also, I would not like to invest more than 3 months on coaching on basic things. The skills are different, but how
right.
to like behave in an organization, how to work, how to show up, all of those things. um, but I also know that there is a like serious knowledge gap, and people just do not know how to be at a workplace. And even even in college and everything, we do have a lot of societies, but there also the power dynamics become much more prominent as compared to the real work that is happening.
Right.
And if you are working in a be it VC funded or a bootstrapped startup, where um, the team is itself so small, and
Mm-hmm.
every person is there to bring something to the table. and it is never like there are, even if I have three people in the marketing team, all those three people will have to contribute their individual um, thing to the overall function. Only
Correct.
then we'll able to succeed. It is not never one versus the other person.
Right.
So that unlearning also needs to happen, uh, because people are trained to like show more, even if like uh, there were just two tasks, they'll make those two tasks four tasks by breaking it down, right? I have done more work than the other person, so
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
And what about another key aspect which you had also shared earlier, that if 2 months we might be focusing on one thing, then we might decide to quickly pivot, focus on another aspect. So there is uh, a component of learning agility, right? You need people who can quickly switch, learn something new, and then move on with that. So how do you filter for that? Because at least I have found that learning agility is something quite hard to coach.
Yeah, that actually comes from an innate curiosity. If someone is curious about a lot of things, then any new task or role that you throw at them, they'll be able to look at that thing curiously, and in the process learn a lot of things. Plus, like simple things like your ability to search things on YouTube, find relevant content, because you'll have a lot of
Yeah.
data available, but which one is relevant? Again, one more thing is, like I did as part of my job earlier, if I didn't know something, I'll actively reach out to people who will help me, even if my boss hasn't instructed me to do that. And
Hmm.
maybe I'll then refer them that this is the person who can help us set this thing up, because
Right.
we are right now not capable enough to do it ourselves. And if they do it for us once, we'll be able to learn and then take it forward from there.
Hmm.
So, like thinking again, entrepreneurial thinking is required, that you really have to own what you are doing, and be the boss of your own function, and look for solutions, because in a startup you will have hundreds of problems. You'll always have those, and either you can keep pointing those out, or look for solutions for that specific thing. One another thing that I think missed in our previous discussion is this expectation mismatch also happens because um, there is a pressure on Gen Z to have all aspects of life figured out.
Yes.
So um, in like earlier, it used to be, if you have, like, people will still respect you if you have your career figured out, right? Okay, he's doing so well, she's doing so well in this company, that company, they're earning well, settled well, all of that. Right now, even if you have a good job, you are happy about it, everyone else in your circle will make you feel, what are you even doing with your life? You are not going on trips, you do not have like this brand's this jacket. So you are not going on fest, you didn't get the coach ticket, like all of these other things also. At the same point of time, you are expected to like sort of perform well in every direction of
Yes.
life.
Yes.
So
There's
that
too
is
much
again too much pressure.
performative pressure. Like, especially with the advent of how social media is really, the use of it has gone through the roof. With that has come all of this performance pressure. Like, you have to post that cool selfie, you have to post that great like, for example, LinkedIn. If you read LinkedIn, it seems everyone is having one achievement after the other every week. It's just us who are
Right.
left behind, right? So I
Exactly.
think this performance culture has not a performance culture, but this performance culture for social media has really spread a lot, right? And that puts
Right.
undue stress on a lot of people, and not just Gen Zs though. That's a great point here.
Yeah, for like every single person. And even if you're not posting there, you'll find like there's a subculture of people who will say that we are like too cool to post, right? And for them, the matrix is how many parties you are getting invited to. So for every like small niche of groups that have been created over the internet, every person has a different metric to uh, crush, like, and in different directions of life.
Yeah,
um,
that's a that's a good point. And that now it brings me back to a question about the time when you trained as a classical dancer. Right? What
yeah,
because training as a classical dancer is quite a tough thing. It's not easy. I've seen how the gurus drill you like it's very very difficult. And in fact, we were once working with I had gone to visit a Bharatnatyam academy, and there we were thinking of okay, how can we help these students because a lot of them have knee pain, ankle
right.
issues, etc. from the constant repetitions that you have to do, right? So what was that period like? Because you started it so young.
Yeah,
So what are the things that you still remember, or what are the highlights or challenges of that time?
right. um, so when I look back right now, I'd say I have mixed feelings about that phase. Um, Obviously, it taught me like discipline, perseverance, all of that, like respect for your work. That also came from the training. Um, a lot of patience also, because mostly the first 3 years when you are training, you are just doing the same steps over and over again till you have perfected it to a stage where you can maybe dance. So it is a saying, if you dance in a practice session for 3 hours, you can deliver the same quality of performance for 45 minutes on stage. So for 45 minutes on stage, you have to train at least, you have to do non-stop for at least 3 hours. Only then you'll be able to pull it through. Um, in terms of what I didn't like about the overall experience, was in any public or performance sort of views, when we hear about actors and like musicians, all of such artistic fields, there is a lot of backpulling politics that happens along with the art form itself.
Right,
So sometimes it is so much that it takes you away from what was the real purpose of doing
yeah,
everything. um, so in my case, like i I was very thin when I was a kid. So and but like my postures, like I had my strengths and my weaknesses as a performer. I have had like few like very good supporters, gurus, which I found out uh, at the middle of my journey. So one of my gurus actually visited Fiji, and we always stayed in touch after I left dance. So he got an opportunity to perform with the Indian High Commission here. So those sorts of relationship also, I think I had because of that time. But I also had a lot of like really bad experience. Um, that time psychology was not out there that much.
yeah,
So now when I look back, people will say you went through so many traumatic experiences.
right,
But then it was so evident and so common in everyday life that
okay,
we didn't think that okay, something bad is happening with
right,
us,
right.
right?
And
So like instead,
how did you manage to retain that curiosity and that love for the tradition despite facing all of these challenges?
um, I think I'm an optimistic person, like that, optimistic and positive person. I think the love for the art form superseded a lot of those things, but eventually the final break was that there are aspects of this thing that I absolutely cannot do.
Right.
So, like, I even got a junior scholarship from Ministry of Culture. But even when like that happened, and the few years after that, I always saw like people trying to pull me down.
Hmm.
Um, like they will have something or the other to like point out, and it didn't just happen with me, but anyone who was like exceptionally well in whatever they are doing.
Yeah.
So they'll always have 10 to 15 people trying to pull them down, and sometimes there will be people with whom they have spent their childhoods. They deeply trusted them. So even for my case, the first people that I learned with, um, they sort of turned this entire
Right.
way around and started to say some bad shit, right? So that sort of is very hurtful. But I think because it happened at a time when you are young, you are able to overcome. But I do realize that now when I see, and I do have a lot of responsibilities at this age, and I see my like peers or even my brother's childhood, I see that they had a much freer childhood in terms of what experiences they had.
Right.
I didn't get the time to see a lot of movies, for example, right? Because
Yeah.
Saturday, Sundays were booked for classes, then other performances and everything. And that is where I say that all the experiences I have are connected, lead me to the path that I am at right now. If I would have had a normal childhood, it would have been very difficult for me to be at this stage.
Yeah.
So right now, suppose we have this term called body shaming. We didn't know at that point of time, okay,
That
someone
is
is body shaming us,
that is true.
right?
I got went through that too. Yeah.
So
And how so let's come back now again to Cosmofine. What are your
yeah,
hopes and dreams for the journey ahead with Cosmofine?
I think at least for the next few years, the focus will be on setting the base and value system right. So whenever we are able to scale, we want to have a very solid base that no one can break. Um, Second is that we are doing it all online right now. We want to take it to offline experiences. Um, so if we take like a comparative parameter, whatever such concepts offer is, as I said, a very personalized and exclusive sort of an experience, which people go for in a five-star hotel, for
Yeah.
example, that they want to feel special uh, by spending that money.
Yeah.
So any such concept will have a huge like acceptance and an experience that um, like all Indian sciences can give is to help them understand themselves better, be in more alignment, and leave with a sense of like confidence in their own selves. So I think the overall job of the concept is to hold a mirror which is not distorted by external noises. So that as an experience in itself is life changing.
Yeah.
Um, so I'd like to in the next like decade, we would want to move from digital to physical sort of experiences and a mix of that, so that we are not again bogged down by the location specific um, restrictions, and to serve the people that are only there, but also have a global sort of a
Understood.
appeal.
And how is it like to live in Fiji and work there? Because I see you have never posted a laptop on the beach and the kind of photo that people usually think of when they hear someone is working from Fiji. So how's it like to work from there?
Right. So I think I've been here for 6 months now. Yeah. So and one important thing is that I've lived all my childhood and adult life in Delhi. All right. So one thing that is like completely contrast is the quality of air, water,
That's
like
true.
all the natural resources. Also, we have a huge Indian diaspora here,
Yeah.
and these are people who have like built Unilever level companies, but Fiji specific.
Right.
And these are people from Indian diaspora only, um, um, who are like third, fourth generation of Indians.
Mm-hmm.
When I see them, talk to them, I feel I see a different aspect of entrepreneurship, which I think is missing in the Indian startup ecosystem.
Right.
Um, Again, in the startup ecosystem is again more focusing on the external factors.
Yeah.
Here you will see a multimillionaire sitting right beside you. You won't even realize.
Wow.
They'll talk to you in such with such respect and attention to that particular um, moment that you will not realize that this is someone so big, right? So this again, this sort of a like grounding and humbleness is something that I also want to imbibe. Um, and again, when I go back, interact with people in the Indian startup ecosystem, even when I connect to them online, I
Mm-hmm.
see sort of a gap. I still feel that most of the times. This is again one of my passions to create a community of entrepreneurs who can be a bit more authentic
Right.
and share their challenges more openly, and to not paint a flowery picture always.
Yeah.
Um, I think that also happens because of the VC culture, because you are always supposed to inflate your numbers, put up your best face forward. That even if you're talking to an entrepreneur, you won't talk like two business people. You'll
Yeah.
talk like you're selling to each other. So
Yeah.
you'll only say that, okay, we have this coming up, that coming up, things are going so great. Um, and like you are always suffering alone. But I think one thing that I have really learned from my father and from the entire government sector, all my family is in the government sector, and I feel that they do have a strong sense of community. So even with colleagues and their working
Mm.
partners, they do share like even personal and professional concerns.
Yeah.
And they'll stand up for each other if something is happening in someone's family also. Um, but that sort of a equation is missing when like one entrepreneur is speaking to another. Not sort of in entirely a family or a bilkul deep friendship sort of a way, but just basic stuff where you share like uh, stuff as it is and not always dress it up
Yeah. It becomes a
in a
show,
performative
right?
manner.
It's like you're living in
Yeah,
a reality show, reality TV show.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
So,
quite.
and like everyone expects like the best quality right from the first stage. I always find that people who are doing real work are more grounded. They often may sound a bit underconfident,
That is.
that sometimes leads to other people giving them advice that you should do that, you should do this.
Yeah.
It is only people who just have an idea and right now haven't started working on the idea very properly that have strong opinions on stuff.
Right.
So,
And do you have
but
a
a
support?
vulnerable communities,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
And do you have a support network as a founder? Like when you feel low or when you feel down, like who's there to support you? Or is there somewhere you can vent or even express yourself?
Right. So one good thing about our thing is that I have a co-founder. So mostly that happens with her whenever it is something business related. But of course, that whenever we went to each other, it might also result in um, lesser confidence or a overall demotivation
Yeah.
in amongst each other. But outside of that, I think that is why I said that one of my passions is to create such a community. Outside of that, I do not really have people where I speak to whom I speak to, because all my friends and all are, no one is into entrepreneurship. And then there again, it becomes a challenge to be, because if someone is working or is studying, they would not have the context
Yes.
to hear. And like an entrepreneur, I don't know, after Shark Tank or something, they are always expected to be pitching somehow or be in perfect shape and form.
Yeah.
So it might be that you are feeling low today. I vented out to a friend, and they right now they have that perception of me. Okay, that she's going through something and her business is not doing that good.
Yeah.
But I might have moved on from that situation next day only. So I think someone who has really gone through the journey is much better to have that shared experience with them.
Right. And do you think there in Fiji there might be a more supportive community? Like you said, you know how humble people are. Is there
Yeah.
that
So
possibility?
um, here actually people are mostly settled in the businesses, so the stage in itself is like 100 levels up.
Right.
So I do not know of a lot of um, people my age who are just starting out who will
Okay.
be able to form a group or something. um, and but one thing, I think, which is, again, when I see that when people are not restricted, they're much freer. So I've started going for a swim every morning, and I don't know how to swim, so this is again the first time me doing that. But even when there I see like small kids or people my age, they are, I don't know where you live, but in cities, in Indian cities, people generally are very reserved. So
Yeah.
they won't say like good morning, hi, hello, nothing
Correct.
to each other. But even the openness with which like people greet each other here, so that also sort of relaxes, takes your mind off
Yeah.
a lot of things that are happening at work.
Understood. Last question. What's something that makes you happy these days?
What's something that makes me happy? Um, uh, One thing is definitely the the day-to-day work. I think the execution of, like, seeing whatever you have dreamt of building brick by brick. So that is one deep sense of fulfillment. Second is I get to be around nature. So this again, this comes from whatever I have analyzed about myself also, that for me to re-energize, it is very important that I spend time in nature. So like in Delhi, it was very difficult for me to do that. um, and like we do not have any water bodies also. We either go to like a vacation for 3 to 4 days to the mountains.
Yeah.
um, Generally we try, if everything we do not have any other commitments, then weekends we go to, like, we'll drive away, go to some waterfall or something.
Yeah.
And like every few kilometers there's some place that you can go to,
Right.
and you can see the full moon, you can see the sun rising just outside the balcony.
You can
So
see the
I can see
stars
the sea,
probably.
stars, like I can see the recognize the constellations. uh, so that, and every day I see a different color of the sky. So yes, because the mixture is such that the combination is always different. Sometimes it is more pinkish, reddish. Like there are colors I have never seen in my life.
Yeah.
So these two things I think are, this is an experience of a lifetime, I guess, because in India, no matter where you take a bungalow, you'll never get so much like open access to nature.
Yeah. I think that's a good point to end this interview on a high note. I hope you enjoyed it.
I loved it. I again said a lot of things that I uh, said to myself also for the first time. So thank you for uh, pointing and taking me to those phases of life.
Thank you so much.